if my army sucks?
What if I suck?
What if it's both? Hey everybody, this is Space Marine Steve from Play on Tabletop and here at Hyperspace Hobbies. I would just like to say thank you so much for all of the subs that we got over our winter break. Ian and I have taken some time and we've been working on videos and ideas and just taking a little bit of a breather, but we are getting back to it in the new year. Happy 2024 to everyone out there in YouTube land. And I hope that you're enjoying all the 40K goodness that you're getting in, and I hope you had a restful and good holiday. And I'm really excited to be back here with you today because boy, did I ever get my butt kicked a lot over the winter break. I played a good chunk of 40K against some of my friends, some of the guys that play on, and I got my butt kicked. I just wanted to start with a bit of a story because for a long time, I used to really, really want to win. And I think that that's probably something that all of us really want to do, right? You want to win. You want to be good at the game that you're investing so much in. Because really, and I think this is why people get so fired up about 40K too, is that the investment level is really, really high, right? You spend a lot of money, you spend a lot of time, you put a lot of effort into this game, and for you to get to the tabletop and then maybe not perform the way you want to perform, it's a hard pill to swallow. You have to kind of look at the game, especially if you're losing a lot, kind of assess, like, am I doing this wrong? Is my army bad? Did the units are the units that I picked really bad? Like, what am I doing wrong? Nothing. You're not doing anything wrong. I think that there is sometimes a misconception about the game that, one, if you're not winning on the scoreboard, then it's not a win at all, and oh well, it's one of those like suck it up moments. But it's not. It's absolutely not. And I learned that a lot actually over this winter break because I got to play so much. I lost a lot. I won a couple times, but I lost a lot. And I also learned a lot. And people learn in all kinds of ways. So the first way sometimes is seeking advice or getting help. And if you've been around in the 40K world for a while, you've probably seen a lot over especially the last couple of editions. Coaching services pop up, things like Art of War and Vanguard Tactics, and there's all kinds of them all over the place. There's even like list writing services that'll write a list for you, and you can pay for that, and they'll send it to you. And while I'm not saying that all of those things are particularly bad, or what I'm saying is sometimes the help that they can give you can only go so far, and it kind of depends also on how you learn. And sometimes I feel like I don't learn that way, and I'll kind of tell you why. Like, someone will give me advice, right? So let's say the advice is something like how to hold objectives or keep scoring, and that's probably advice you've heard a lot is, oh, well, just keep scoring because the game is all about the scoreboard, and that's all that really matters, even if you're getting blown off the table. Yeah, but if you get blown off the table, then you can't score, right? And the guy on the other end of the phone will go, no, just keep scoring, like you'll see. And then you go and do it and your stuff gets blown off the table and you just go, it's nothing I do works. It's true. Yep. Nothing you do is going to work because you're not them. You're not somebody that can sit, behind a computer or at a practice table, and you're not somebody that can practice all the time, right? And they're saying to just do this, right, in one very simple word, but the game is actually way more complex than that. And to learn it and to learn to be good at it takes a whole lot more than some kind of checklist they can give you. Did you deploy right? Have you moved the right units? Are you going to score the points? Because how they did it and how you would do it would be two completely different things, even if they're giving you those, simple instructions for you to follow, because they're not there at the table with you. The game is a whole lot more layered and holistic than something that can be broken down to a checklist. And I can say that because I've tried the coaching stuff and I learned a lot. But I also learned that every bit of advice and every bit of learning is still taken with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, your coach isn't going to play the game with you, right? And they can't give you advice right then. What do you really have to do, and how do you really focus on winning a game? A game that's also wildly complicated and keeps on changing, which means the advice that you're going to be getting is going to consistently change, because the list that you come up with, the tactic that you decide to like employ might only be valid for like 4 months. And then Games Workshop comes out with a new book. Games Workshop comes out with a new data upsheet or whatever. And data sheet update. I can't believe I messed that up. But anyways, and then what? Right? Back into the phone calls you go, back into asking your friends for help, back into practice game after practice game after practice game that honestly you might not even have time for. I know I don't. I know I struggle immensely trying to get practice games in because I work full time. I'm a teacher, right? And I'm wildly busy, and I got stuff I got to do at Play On, and I really like doing these vlogs here at Hyperspace. It's hard to get the practice in that you need to keep up on a game that is honestly on a really fast set of wheels, like a really fast set of wheels. And so what now? How do you win at 40K when honestly everything kind of makes it just so damn hard? I feel like I used to lose a lot at 40K. And now I feel like I actually do win a lot at 40K, even though the scoreboard says that I lose each particular, game or match or round or whatever you want to call it. And the reasoning that I feel like I'm still winning is because each game I play with each change over, it gets closer and closer and closer. And that's because I have adopted something called a growth mindset. And this is an educational term. I'm a teacher, so I'm just going to start slinging those out every so often. But this growth mindset means that where I am right now isn't fixed. And that's called a fixed mindset. And when you adopt a growth mindset, it means that you can identify where you are now, but you can also identify where you want to go and what you need to do to get there. And so I have identified kind of where I want to go. I have identified where I want to go. And that is starting to keep my units alive. Sometimes I can be really good at scoring points, but I'm bad at throwing units away, right? And when the more and more I score points by throwing units away, the less and less units I have to play the game in the long run, and I end up losing like 4 and 5, and I feel very robbed, right? And it's not a great feeling to be like, oh, I was doing so well, and now I'm doing so poorly. Yeah, because I tossed all my units away. Now I can't play the game anymore, so of course I'm going to lose. You need to be able to play all the way to turn 5. A goal that I've kind of set for myself is finding ways to deploy, to move, and to use my target priority in such a way that it shields my units. And it's by doing that I'm starting to be able to play all of my games in 10th edition, especially now where, the game is so deadly. I'm starting to be able to get more and more units to the finish line to play the game and to score well while I'm doing it. But I only realized that I was really doing this by doing something called reflection. And reflection is when you take a really good look at, an event that's taken place or your actions or something that you've done. And you ask yourself, how did that go? Why did it go that way? And then what can I do next time to better the results? By consistently doing this, I kind of bring around like a little notepad with me places and stuff like that, and I'll make little notes. I can be kind of forgetful sometimes. And so with those little notes, and I use those tools to better the practice in my game, right? And to always remind myself, okay, don't do this, let's do that instead. And by doing those consistent reminders and by reflecting on the evidence that I'm seeing in all the games, I am able to slowly get better. And I've redefined what winning means, because the next game that I play with the opponent that just beat me gets that little bit closer, because I've learned to do something better. You can't look at each game as, a one-off thing, because there's also this element of luck, right? A lot of players will tell you that, the dice don't matter, and to an extent, that is true, right? But there's also not just that. Like sometimes it's, the units baked into the lists. Sometimes you run into a list that is just really tough for your army to fight. You have no control over that. It happens, right? Sometimes your opponent spikes a bunch of dice when they really shouldn't, and whoa, look at that. Suddenly the game got way harder for you. Yep. And maybe if you positioned better, maybe if you played the perfect game, which like nobody will ever do, maybe then the dice wouldn't matter. But sometimes they do. Sometimes there's flukes. So you can't measure yourself by the entire win-loss tally. Instead, start to measure yourself by the growth you're seeing in each game. As your opponents have to work harder and harder to win their games against you, and your job gets easier and easier, that's because you're getting better. And view that getting better as the win, right? Also, welcome the losses. Embrace it. Because, honestly, you learn 10 times more from every loss than you do from any win, as long as you reflect on it. It's easy to say, oh yeah, you learn lots from losing. Yeah, you totally do. Only if you think about why you lost, right? If you just throw your hands up in the air and say, oh, well, the dice abandoned me, well, then you're going to go into the next game thinking that the dice are the thing that's going to win and lose you the game, right? You can't think about that. You got to take the dice out of the reflection equation. And this is really where the dice don't matter. What could you have done better? And I will challenge anybody that says nothing. There's, of course, something you could have done better. Of course. So you got to try and find it. And if you're struggling to find it, that means you played a good game. I'm sure there's still something there. So really think about it. Ultimately, how you win at 40K, it's about getting better over time. You're not just playing one game. You're playing like a grand tournament of your entire experience in this hobby. What you want to do throughout this journey is always get better, because the game is also going to change all the time, right? So time to be flexible, time to be reflective, and time to adopt a growth mindset about winning, because it's not just the time that you beat your friend down at the game store, and it's not that time that one time you won a tournament at some point in time or whatever. It's about, are you able to carry the lessons through, and are you able to follow through on all of those lessons? What I would love to do is hear your learning experiences. So I don't want to know how you win at 40K. I want to know what's a lesson about 40K that you've learned. So down in the comments section, I would love to hear stories of you doing some very good learning. And these stories, I'm sure, will be sometimes heartbreaking, but also sometimes comical. And I know I've got a few. So put them down in the comments. Please subscribe. I'm so excited that we're up over 3,000 subscribers now. So from all of us here at Hyperspace Hobbies, thank you so much for joining me. Have a great night.